Hello, Mr. Blackwell here again. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some differentiated instruction I'll do in lesson 3.3.1. How can I solve it? In this lesson we're going to be introduced to different ways we can solve different equations. The main ways we'll be introduced to is looking inside, rewriting, and undoing. And this is more of an introduction lesson to these different methods. But one thing we would do to start out this lesson is we'd try to do some refreshing on what we've done in the past, and we'd be looking at a factored equation, and we'd ask ourselves, what is an easy way to try to put this equation into standard form? We might talk about distributive properties or area model. Distributive properties, a lot of people remember that with the mnemonic FOIL. But then there's also the area model, which we can draw out, and then we can take these different pieces and write them out next to the area model. And then what we're able to do is we're able to tie these together, and by doing this, we are able to get these individual parts, and then we can bring these parts together and have it be in standard form, where we could have y equals, and we could have 12x squared plus 8x minus 55. And so now we've moved from factored form to standard form. Of course, I'd go a little slower in class so that students would be able to ask questions. But using this kind of visual thing to help manipulate the equation is, I think, a good tool for many students. But we'd move on, we'd talk about looking inside, using something like 5 to the x equals 5 to the 8th. And the looking inside is saying, well, if both these bases are the same, well then the exponents have to be the same, therefore x is equal to 8. And a good metaphor I might use for something like this to help the kids kind of think about it is, looking inside is kind of like doing a puzzle. You have the picture right there, typically when you're doing a puzzle, and so you can look at the puzzle and you can make some, and now all you have to do is try to figure out where that piece goes in the puzzle, because you already know it, it's already in front of you. You just need to pull it out and say, hey, this piece goes right there. Just like 8 is right here, and x is right here, therefore x must equal 8. Then there's rewriting, which is very similar to what we did over here, using some distributive properties and then continuing to solve. The last one is undoing. Another metaphor I might use for undoing is kind of working backwards, or stripping off the work. So many of my students like to build things, and so something I would use with them is, if they found like an old piece of furniture and they wanted to refurbish that piece of furniture, they're going to strip off like old lacquer. They might even take the chair apart some, get it back down to those basic elements. And then once they do that, they're able to put it together and have a better understanding of what's going on. And so kind of metaphorically speaking, that's what we're doing with the math. We're stripping it back, we're taking it back to its basic parts to see what is going on before we move forward. And so these are some of the areas. And so I'll do something like this on the board first in a lecture, and then I'll turn it some time over to the class. Of course, allowing class to ask questions. But as I turn the time over to them, I'd actually break them up into groups, and they'd have different problems which they can work on then in their groups. And that group work will allow them to talk with one another, because some students will understand the lecture and others won't. And so now those that understood the lecture, and as they're doing the group work, are better able to explain to their peers what's going on and why something works. And they're able to then support each other in their endeavors. And then at the end of class, I would actually do a swap meet, and I'll have one pair from a team go and switch places with another pair from another team to explain different reasonings, to make sure they're on the same base. And at the same time, I'll be walking around, listening to vocab being used, making sure that the understanding is there, doing some informal assessments in the time being, and if needs be, prompting by asking different questions, and so that would be kind of the quick overview of how can I solve it. Thank you.